Ari, we are headed to Athens, Georgia to see Texas play Georgia. We'll be there with Modelo next week, and I am so excited. This will be your first game between the hedges at Sanford Stadium. This will be Texas's first game between the hedges at Sanford Stadium. This is the matchup Texas envisioned, the SEC envisioned when they decided to get together, and this is going to be absolutely fantastic. Texas playing for its playoff life. Georgia does not need this win, but for seeding purposes, for trying to get a bye, Georgia certainly would want to win this game. For trying to get into the SEC championship game, Georgia would want to win this game. This is going to be a classic.
Real life text exchange with me and people in a group chat that are Texas fans. And I wrote back after Texas won 2 weeks ago, is Texas back after they beat Vanderbilt? My other friend responded, back from what? Back-to-back CFP appearances? And then I wrote back, no, back from being top ass this year. Are they back?
They are back.
Confidence that they could win this game.
I think they should be confident that they can compete in this game. Win is going to be tough, but I do think they should be confident they can compete the way they've played. Well, the way they played the first 3 quarters against Vanderbilt. If they play like that, they're in this thing. This gets very, very interesting. And that is the team we've been waiting to see. That's the one we had the massive preseason expectations for. And it's interesting because I don't think we saw the Georgia team we'd been expecting to see until the Mississippi State game last week. Like we'd seen Georgia's offense be very explosive and be very tough to stop. We'd not seen Georgia's defense play really well, but Georgia's defense played great on third down against Mississippi State. Looked obviously much better than Texas's defense did when they went to Starkville a few weeks earlier. Yeah. And so we may be getting these two teams kind of peaking at the same time, which is going to make it extra fun.
Yeah. We have spent a lot of time this year talking about Georgia's defensive front and how they aren't as good as the typical Georgia defensive fronts that they have, possessed at times where their team was ultra dominant. Is it good enough to completely embarrass Texas's offensive line? Because I wonder if Texas has repaired that, or if they are playing at a high enough level to mask it in big games, or if this is going to be the reminder that Texas isn't equipped from a personnel standpoint to be competing in these games. Now, I know that's kind of a weird thing to say because Texas has won 4 games in a row. But in the middle there, they could have lost and maybe should have lost to both Kentucky and Mississippi State. So I am trying to figure out, in their 4-game winning streak, the sandwich, the bread is Oklahoma and Vanderbilt. They looked very good in the second half of that Oklahoma game that we went to. And, they beat up Vanderbilt for 3 quarters. What part of the sandwich, the meat, which is almost losing to the 2 worst teams in the SEC, or the bread, which is beating 2 top 10 teams, do you take away when analyzing this team?
That you have to take it all into account because you just don't know what you're going to get with them.
Yeah.
I will say the most recent time we saw them, you got both. You got the dominant version that everybody wanted to see for 3 quarters. And then you got the holy crap, Diego Pavia is going to do this to us for a quarter. So if both those teams show up in Athens, they're going to lose. Like the team that was there for the first 3 quarters of the Vandy game is the only one that can go in Athens and win.
Yeah. I think it's interesting that you have a notion of a team. And that notion is with you for the majority of the year. And then you go into mid-November and they are 1 win away on the road from being a team that you believe could maybe win the national title. That's how quickly things can change in this sport. We know they have good players, but that's been true all year. And when you look at the majority of their schedule, man, the 27-10 to UTEP, losing to Florida, the first half of the Oklahoma game, they were not the better.
And that Florida loss looks extra yucky.
Yeah.
After watching Florida against Kentucky on Saturday.
Yeah. Kentucky, Mississippi State, overtime and 1 had to, overtime and both, right? Yeah.
Georgia struggled with Florida too. So it's one of those things where we don't know week to week what we're going to get from either of these teams.
Yeah,
and
I also think that the Florida stuff is, and you can attest to this too. The version of Florida that shows up is also widely variable. Like,
right,
I think
they show up for the huge games, and Texas and Georgia are huge games, so they show up and that's why they're a bad team. That's why they fired their coach, because they can't do that every week.
Yeah, and like Florida, who showed up for Georgia last weekend and who beat Texas, played much better than they played on Saturday. It's the same team, but it was different outputs. Yeah, so like, and listen, I have been somebody who has consistently questioned Georgia's ability to play at a top level. And when I was watching them beat up on Mississippi State, a team that I thought would have been able to maybe give them a 4-quarter game, it was kind of like, maybe it's time to stop waiting for this team to lose again. And I have a hard time with Georgia too. It's like we think, Texas is, a team that has some personnel issues. I don't know if they'll be able to overcome not being able to block anybody against teams that they should be blocking quite easily. And then I look at Georgia and I'm like, well, they, had a 3-game stretch where they could have lost 3 in a row. They found a way to win. They haven't been as bulletproof as, they've been in the past. And I think that we're going to find out a lot about both of these teams. And Andy, when we first got this game that we're going to on the schedule, I was like, oh man, I wish it was better. I think we're back. Like, I think that this is about as big of a game as this is the game that it was supposed to be. And it's going to have huge playoff implications, SEC race implications. And, and I am also very amused that on the same universe where this was supposed to be Texas A&M's year, they can't have anything completely to themselves. If Texas wins this game, Texas is right there with them.
They are. And now the question is, if Texas loses this game, do we just file this season away as a disaster because we thought they were going to win the national championship? Because I do think they're out if they lose this game. Like, they're even if they beat A&M, 9-3 is probably not going to cut it.
Yeah, unless we're doing the quality loss thing and you say they played Ohio State to 7 points. But I think I'm with you on that. I don't know that I would call it an absolute disaster. If they would have lost to Kentucky or Mississippi State, I think I would have filed it under disaster. I guess it just depends on what the game looks like. If they get their ass kicked and they're not equipped to play, then maybe you start inching towards that territory a little bit. But, the fact that they're able to maybe factor into the SEC race in mid-November means that, they did a pretty good job navigating what could have been an absolute train wreck. Yeah.
So the way they win, I think, is that they have to keep up scoring with Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
The defense has to get some key stops. Gunnar Stockton's looked really good. Nate Frazier was awesome the other day against Mississippi State. Georgia feels like they've gotten to the point where they can run the ball well. This is where that Florida game keeps popping up for me with Texas, where you saw Jaden Ball capable of running the ball against them. Florida's line, which has not been great at getting a push in the run game most of the year, was getting a push against Texas. So Georgia's offensive line is playing as well as it has all year. Texas has got to figure out a way to keep them from controlling the game on the ground, because Stockton will pick you apart when they're running the ball well.
Yep.
Then on the other side of the ball, Arch is going to have to be creative. He's going to have to, some of the things that Arch has done well this season is, like, I go back to the first half of the Oklahoma game, getting them out of negative plays, getting it back to neutral, or getting it to where you get something out of a play when it looks like a disaster at the beginning. That's one thing Arch is really good at. And
Arch also has thrown for more than 300 yards and 3 touchdowns in consecutive games.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know where people stand on that. We are 6 weeks removed from somebody writing a column in The Athletic saying that his name is synonymous with failure. I don't know if we have repaired ourselves to at least accept that maybe he's improving and is turning into a very good player. If anybody wants to question them or him and his performances this year, they can continue to do that. But I think if he goes to Sanford Stadium and throws for 300 yards, like, the thought process on what he was,
all the Warby Parker commercials are forgiven. Yeah. if he goes to Sanford Stadium and throws for 300 yards, it's like, okay, you can be whatever commercials you want. But
ironically enough, for Warby Parker commercials, like, this is going to be the ultimate eye test game, I think, of like whether or not.
Look at you! That's some synergy. Hey, why don't I throw a little Modelo in there? We are going to be there with Modelo. Grab yourself a Modelo to stay game day ready all season long. We're going to be there with all the full-time fans of the Georgia Bulldogs and the Texas Longhorns. We'll have more specific information about where exactly we'll be, but come hang out. We're going to be there before the game. We're going to be tailgating with Modelo. Yeah, you're going to want to come tailgate with us.
Yeah.
So this is going to be absolute pandemonium. This is what we wanted out of this game. This is what the SEC wanted out of this game. This is what Texas wanted out of this game. Georgia, they wanted good home schedules. That's the one thing they were really excited about when the SEC changed up the schedules. They got it this year. They got the ultimate home schedule this year, and this is the cherry on top. This game is going to be awesome. We're going to be there, and we will see you at the Modelo tailgate on Saturday.